He burned every letter she ever sent him. Every photograph. Every gift she had ever placed in his hands. One by one, into the fire, until the room smelled like the end of something. His friends stood outside the door listening. They thought he had finally broken. They knocked. They called his name. They told him he needed help. He did not answer. Because he was not broken. He was, for the first time in 3 years, beginning to breathe again. We carry things that stopped belonging to us a long time ago. Old conversations we lost. Relationships that ended but were never buried. Versions of ourselves we outgrew but never said goodbye to. Doors that closed years ago that we are still standing in front of, knocking. We hold on not because holding helps us. We hold on because letting go feels like agreeing that it is really over. And something in us refuses to agree. But here is what the ancient philosophers understood that most of us spend a lifetime avoiding. Holding on does not keep the thing alive. It only keeps the wound open. Zhuangzi lost his wife. The great Taoist philosopher, the man who wrote about rivers and butterflies and the nature of existence itself. Lost the woman he had spent his life beside. When his friend Huizi came to mourn with him, he did not find Zhuangzi weeping. He found him sitting on the ground. Singing. Huizi was horrified. You lived with her for decades, he said. She raised your children. She grew old beside you. And now you sit here and sing? Zhuangzi was quiet for a long moment. Then he said this. When she first died, I was in despair like anyone. But then I looked back to her beginning, before she was born, before she had a body, before she had a spirit. She was part of the vast undivided. Then the world changed her and she became alive. Now the world has changed her again. To weep and wail for her now, he said, would be to fail to understand what cannot be changed. He was not cold. He was not pretending. He had simply learned something that most of us spend our entire lives running from. That grief held beyond its season does not honor what we lost. It only imprisons the one who is still here. And the key has always been in our hand. Marcus Aurelius wrote something in his private journal that I want you to sit with. He wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change. And change is nature's delight. Not nature's tragedy. Not nature's cruelty. Nature's delight." He was not talking about pretending things do not hurt. He was talking about something much harder and much more freeing. The willingness to let what was, be what was. Not what still is. Not what should have been. Not what you wish you could go back and change. What was. Real. Complete. Finished. And no longer here. There is a cost to holding on that we rarely speak about honestly. Every morning you reach for the grief before you reach for anything else, before the light, before the coffee, before anything new can enter. You are choosing the past over the present. Every conversation you replay in your head looking for the moment it went wrong. You are giving the only life you have to a moment that no longer exists. Every time you imagine what might have been, you are living in a world that never was, instead of the one that actually is. The man who burned the letters was not erasing her. He was not pretending she never existed. He was not being cold or strong or healed. He was simply, finally, allowing her to be finished. Not forgotten. Finished. There is a difference that changes everything. I want you to think of one thing you are still carrying. Not necessarily a person. Maybe an old version of yourself, the one who failed at something you have still not forgiven yourself for. Maybe a life you almost had, a city, a career, a path that closed before you were ready. Maybe a conversation from years ago that surfaces at 3 a.m. without being invited. Feel the weight of it for just a moment. Now ask yourself honestly. Is holding this making you more alive? Or is it just familiar? Because the Stoics and the Taoists, two traditions separated by thousands of miles and hundreds of years, agree on almost nothing. Except this one thing. The only moment your life is actually happening is now. And now cannot be fully entered while your hands are still full of then. Zhuangzi dreamed he was a butterfly once. Floating. Weightless. Free of everything that had a name. And when he woke he could not be certain. Was he a man who had dreamed of being a butterfly? Or was he a butterfly now dreaming he was a man? He left the question open. Because he understood that some things are not meant to be resolved. Only released. You do not have to burn anything today. You do not have to make a ceremony or a decision or a declaration. You just have to be willing, for one moment today, to set it down. Not forever. Not perfectly. Not without grief. Just down. And notice, even for a second, what your hands feel like when they are empty. That feeling has a name. The Taoists called it wu wei. The Stoics called it freedom. You might call it the first full breath you have taken in a very long time. If this found you at the right moment, share it with someone who is still carrying something heavy. You probably already know who that person is. I will see you in the next moment of stillness.